6 months without a grocery store, working through my stockpile, the food that needs to be eaten up, and saving money along the way. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Amanda. I focus on frugal living, budget meals, and urban homesteading. If that's something that interests you, make sure you hit that subscribe button and follow along. As for everybody else, welcome back. I am back and it is 4 weeks left. 4 weeks, that's all I have left. And I have to say, I'm feeling tired. I'm kind of done with this challenge. I feel like 6 months was a bit more than I could chew. I have the food. It's not that. It's just the momentum to keep pushing. So I'm just feeling a little down with it all, I have to say. Making bread, sometimes I'm done with making bread. I do that quite often, at least a couple times a week. I am pumping out bread. I should probably take one full day and just make a ton of bread, but I honestly cannot find the time to do that either. So that's just how I'm feeling with this right now. It's been quite the learning journey. I've said that multiple times now, where I'm learning what my family really likes to eat, canning wise and prepping wise, things that I have stockpiled, and what we don't really lean into very much. So those are the things I'm kind of working through. So I'm actually going to take you here in a little bit, and I'm going to show you some of my canning that I still need to work through, that I'm still working through to kind of get rid of so I can bring in fresh things that my family are going to enjoy and that we are going to work towards. So that's been a great learning experiment for me. And I honestly think everybody would benefit from that, because I feel like all of us kind of hold on to food that we don't necessarily eat very much of, and maybe sometimes it's going to waste. So learning what exactly your family really, really loves and really isn't going to want much of is a great learning experience. Not to mention that it has made me very creative in with what I am cooking and with what. So I don't really have the option to be like, oh, well, we don't have that, I should probably run to the store and go get it. I'm going to look at what I do have and make substitutes. So you guys do see that in my budget meal cooking, where I'm like, well, I don't have that, so I'm going to substitute this because this is what I do have. And being able to be creative like that and work with meals and ingredients to make sure that I'm using everything I have instead of having to run out to the store is a great skill to have, and it saves lots of money. Because, you know, once you get to that store, you're not just buying that one ingredient, you're buying something else as well, right? So it saves a lot of money that way. We have also been leaning really hard on the garden, which has been producing so much for us this year. It's been amazing. Our fruit trees really provided a lot for us this year, our peaches especially, but also our cherries. The squirrel pressure on my apples kind of took the wind out of my sail on my apples and my pears. It took all my pears and my plums. Actually, I got a handful of pears. So that's not true. But my plums, I didn't get one. So, but everything else, our garden has produced an amazing amount. And again, if you're new here, I don't live in the country. I live on it is a double lot in town, but half of it is very shaded from 3 mature trees in my backyard. So I have a very small space to actually have a productive garden and fruit tree orchard. So I utilize my backyard, my front yard, my patio. I get very creative with where I am growing things. I even grow things on a little black planter right up the side of my garage, where I planted peppers this year. That did amazing. I planted corn. I plant corn for my kids. My corn really does not do well here. You need more corn to be able to grow well. So I can only plant like maybe 10 plants. You need, I think, 80 corns to be able to pollinate properly. So anyways, I planted peppers as well up the side of my garage there. They did amazing. So I know I'm going to be planting a lot more peppers next year, because we definitely have a ton of peppers in my freezer. Oh my goodness. So it's been a blessing, huge blessing. So that's where we've been getting a lot of our produce from during this challenge. So I understand if you're in an apartment, you may be not able to take part in that regard, where you're not going to have the garden space or be able to grow as much as what I do. But I definitely recommend taking part in a challenge like this just to see how much you can get out of your pantries, because I guarantee there's lots of food in your pantry, even when you don't think that there is. So it's just a really, really beneficial thing to do. As for budget meals, so as for this week, what did we have? We had taco soup at the beginning of this week. I just did a short recently on it with the recipe, so take a look at my shorts. You'll find it there if you're looking for the taco soup recipe. And we also had grilled cheese and tomato soup. We had pancakes. Pancakes for dinner is a favorite. My kids love pancakes for dinner. It's cheap, it's easy, it's great. I love pancakes for dinner because it's just one of those meals that you can whip up and hand out when it's a busy night. We had a nice butternut squash soup. So you'll see when I take you down to one of my canning projects where I'm working through those canning things. It was a couple years ago. I got a 50-pound bag of carrots, and it was huge. These carrots, and they are called hunters carrots because they're seconds and they sell them to hunters so that they can go lay them out for the deer, right? So anyways, I got this 50-pound bag of carrots for $20 or $15. I can't remember. It was a couple of years ago. It was a ton of carrots, and I canned them all. I canned all of these carrots. It was an incredible amount of carrots, and found out my family doesn't like the taste of canned vegetables. So canned carrots, canned beans, canned corn is fine, but canned carrots, canned beans, canned peas, anything like that, my family is like, no, I don't like it either. So I use them up in soups. So I'm still using all those canned carrots up in soups. So the butternut squash soup is perfect as well, because I'll just toss a couple of cans of carrots in there, and it helps use those up. Not to mention that I also grew a bunch of squash this year. A lot of them were like little tiny pumpkins I was showing you guys, but I did get some Canadian crooknecks, and my mother-in-law is very generous and she drops by some squash. She happens to live near a farm where she can grab them for like $2 or $3, and she'll pick me up some and bring me some over. So we do have some squash to work through, and and my favorite way to work through squash is to put it in a soup. So we had some of that this week as well. And then we also had macaroni and cheese. So homemade macaroni and cheese is my son's favorite meal, or one of his favorite meals. And again, it is budget friendly and it is really quick to put together. I'll have to throw a video of that up at some point because it's a really hearty, comforting meal, and my kids love it. So we had that this week. And lastly, we had homemade hamburgers. So we did homemade hamburgers at the end of the week, and it was delicious. I love homemade hamburgers. Better than any store-bought, better than any takeout. Homemade hamburgers for the win, always. I think I do have a recipe for my homemade hamburgers in a freezer meal video. I will link that in the description box for you guys in case you're ever wanting to check out my homemade hamburger recipe. I'm finding lately, so my son decided he wanted to try hockey this year, and oh my goodness, the hockey craziness is real. I'm in Canada, again, for anybody who wants to know. So hockey is like legit up here, and my husband did hockey, so he was all for my son doing hockey. He really enjoyed that. And anyways, it's busy. It's really, really busy. And before this, my son did baseball, and that wasn't so bad. It was busy for a couple of months, but that's literally it for baseball up here. But hockey it's a couple nights a week, 2 to 3 sometimes. And then looking forward, it's going to be every weekend we're doing a game. So it's craziness. So I'm going to be bumping up the freezer meals to make sure that I have meals that are ready to go. And then easy meals like this, like the pancakes and the macaroni and cheese, those were nights where we had to go to hockey at 4:30. So like these hockey practices are happening at 4:35. And then my daughter also does something where she's off one night a week, which isn't so bad, but it's at 5. So it's right during dinner. So it's like, okay, we're all eating at 4 and we better get going. My kids also take part in a part-time forest school. So whenever it's happening on days where they're at that forest school, oh my goodness, it is so busy. It is so busy. So having the budget-friendly meals that are really quick to put together and I can hand it to my kids really quickly before we're in from the forest school and out to an activity is really essential. I said to my husband, I don't know how parents who both parents work and their kids are in school full time, and then they are doing these activities. I don't know how they do it. Like, how are they're going to work, they're coming home, they're getting the kids, they're off to this sports activity, and like, when are they eating? What are they eating? And I know, like, it's an issue with a lot of working parents where they don't know what to eat, or they're doing takeout a lot, or people are eating at different times because of all these activities, and it's just craziness. Because we do homeschool part-time, and then again, they've got the forest school part-time, because we're homeschooling throughout the week, we only have a couple of days where it's crazy like that, thank goodness, because the other days they're home, so we can just prepare and we have that time together and we can eat early and it's not a problem. So I'm thankful for our lifestyle so that we are able to make that happen and it's not as crazy as what it could be. Anyways, so that was our budget meals for this week. All right, so I am in my basement, and this is kind of the bittersweet end of my canning from years past. All of my other stuff is upstairs because this is actually not a very good place for me to be storing this. I had some storage down here before my mother moved in, but now I have to go through her place to come down here, and she is a night owl, so she will stay up until 4 or 5 a.m. and then sleep. So I'm a morning person, so I like to get things done in the morning and collect all my dinner things and that sort of thing. And I kind of have to wait for her to wake up before I can come down here to grab anything that's here. So it's really not ideal storage situation for me down here, even though for canned good, it's nice and cool, and we have a dehumidifier, so it's not too wet down here. And so this is a good spot to store canned goods, but it's just not ideal for me because it's really hard for me to get down here and get anything, because sometimes it's like 3, 4 in the afternoon before I can get down here, which is fine. But I do forget about things. And I've said before, I have ADHD. So I am very much out of sight, out of mind person. I forget about these things all the time. So even the stuff upstairs, if it's at the back of the pantry, I will forget about it because it's not directly slapping me in the face. So I'm very much, if something is put away or out of sight, it's gone. So I need stuff like up there where I'm constantly going and can see it all the time. Otherwise I forget and don't plan with it. So we have here, that's a lot of broth that I canned up actually back when I had my own chickens. And I was raising chickens in my garage. So that's quite the story all on its own. And I don't know if I've ever shared that with you guys. I think I have in another video, just not in this series, where for a few years there, I was actually raising meat chickens in my garage. I was able to feed them lots of, garden scraps and things like that. And they were healthy. And I'd have my garage doors open and, they were fine. They were fairly happy in there. We had a great big pen, but this was a few years back. And anyways, so I raised my own meat chickens, and that was amazing. I loved it. I loved to be able to put these huge chickens in my freezer that I produced myself. It was great. Anyways, I canned up a whack load of broth because I'm not wasting a single thing from those animals. No way. So anyways, I still have a ton of broth that I need to use up. So it's down here. So I'm going to be making a lot of soups in the next little while because I'd like to get that used up, because I have some turkeys that we're going to go through and I want to make broth from them. I mean, it's great to have lots and lots of broth because I do soups a lot, or even just recipes where I use broth. So I do love to make new broth and everything, but they are a couple years old, so they do need to be used up. It's my dehumidifier coming on here. I also have some old grape juice, so I need to make gummies with these. I forget that this is down here again. So I need to make gummies with these grapes and the infamous zucchini pineapple. I should try some more desserts with these. I've been doing some savory meals with them, like the fruity chicken and stuff like that. And that's okay, but it's not our favorite. So you guys did leave me some suggestions. The grated ones I'm going to make like more muffins and breads and everything with. But this stuff, the big chunkers, I just don't. some pies, maybe upside down pineapple cake. I haven't tried that yet. I'll try that. And then these plums. So the best thing that I've done with these plums is turn them into plum sauce. We don't eat plum sauce a lot though, and we don't eat it quickly. So I think what I might do is uncan all these, make a big batch of plum sauce, and then can it again. So then it's shelf stable and I can just pull it out when I want, and then it's all in these jars. I do like plum sauce in meatballs. So if I'm doing meatballs, I'll do them in tomato sauce, and typically I'll add a sweetener of some sort. Sometimes it's jam, sometimes it's maple syrup, but the plum sauce in there would be awesome. So I've got a whack load of these, probably some down here and some upstairs. So I think about 10 of these. So I might just do a big batch of plum sauce, can it, and then it's good to go. So these aren't crazy old. These are pears. These pears are ours, first of all. But second of all, my husband went on about how much he loves canned pears. Loves canned pears, would love to have canned pears. He would eat canned pears all the time. His mom always did canned pears, and he loved canned pears. So I did a lot of canned pears. He has not touched this. Maybe he's an out of sight, out of mind person too, although I have a lot of these upstairs too. However, I also have a lot of canned pears. So, I mean, if I serve these to the kids, they're going to eat them. It's not a big deal. But I do have to go through them. They're from 2022, so it was 3 years old. And these sweet dill pickles. I actually brought some of these up the other day for our homemade hamburgers, and they were delicious. I forgot they were down here. So, I guess my husband's like, oh, what about the dill pickles? And I'm like, I'm sure we've got some downstairs. We were out of the regular dill pickles, but we had these, and I just never gravitated to them because they aren't the regular, long dill pickles that I do. They were so good on hamburgers. So again, we have about 10 of these. We'll go through them in sandwiches and such. But this is a spot that I store like a lot of prepping stuff. I've got a lot of water filtration things. I have my seeds here, and I think in the future I'm going to keep all my canned stuff up here and do this all prepping gear. So stuff that I'm not going to need as often. So it's not every day that I'm coming down and grabbing things. But yeah, definitely going to fill this with water and fill it with more prepping items and move all my canning stuff upstairs. It just makes more sense. Anyways, so I'm going to be working through a lot of these. Oh, and my carrots. So I have 3 of these left. So they are almost done. We are almost at the end of the carrots. So that's kind of exciting for me. I was going to go get another thing of those 50-pound bags, possibly, if I have time, and freeze them. Because we like frozen carrots, and we like frozen beans and frozen vegetables. Not great in a situation where, power goes out and you're looking for vegetables. Shelf stable is best. However, for everyday eating, we do prefer frozen and fresh over canned. So that's just the way it is, and I'll work through those in soups. I'm doing a butternut squash soup this week at some point, a different kind of one. And I'll utilize those in there. All right, so that's what I've got left to work through. I have got 4 more weeks, and I'm going to try and pull through and get through this because I also have very limited meat. So I'm going to be leaning heavy on the beans meals. I'm going to do a couple more budget meal videos so you guys can see what I'm actually cooking. And wish me luck. Just powering through these last 4 weeks. And at the end, I'll let you know exactly how much money this has saved me. Now, if you want to follow the entire journey, I have the entire playlist linked right here. Make sure you go check it out, and you can see where I was at the beginning and all the way through. Thank you guys so much for following me again today. I hope you're having a wonderful fall, and I'll see you next time.